You know, we talk about the deep state, we talk about the globalists.
Inflation versus deflation. Well, I mean,
Here at Mar-a-Lago.
I'm baffled that this isn't front page news.
Do you guys support a specific political party, or do you dislike both of them?
Oh, it worked like a charm on you guys.
Let's go, Brandon.
What's up, gang? Never a dull moment in the days of the Trump presidency. So today, just a chill Sunday, then we have all of a sudden a routine shipment of illegal Colombian immigrants just harmlessly being sent over to Colombia on a military plane. And apparently the president of Colombia rejected this plane, did not let it land, and claimed that this was because he didn't like the optics of a U.S. military plane bringing illegal immigrants to Colombia. But then, you know, that's kind of what he settled back down towards at first. He was trying to act like he wasn't going to let Trump send illegal Colombian immigrants back to their rightful home of Colombia. So Trump responds with this vicious tweet. We'll read that in a second, but we got two experts here in the situation. Cam, who's very much well-versed with this because he's from Colombia, has a lot of family from Colombia, and the great Humberto.
Was not from Colombia. Nine, to clarify right now.
You're not from Colombia? We know.
I'm not from Colombia. If anyone from other governments is watching, I have nothing to do with Colombians.
I don't know if the chat could hear you, Humberto. Are you audio or video?
I'm audio.
I see your video down in the bottom here.
You don't want to show my video because I don't look right.
No. So can you take your video down and I could put you on stage? What's up, Cam?
Okay. My thing is still just
your audio is good, guys. Let us know if you could hear Cam. And we also got Humberto in the house. All right. So two South American experts. Guys, should I read Trump's tweet or you want to give your take on this first?
Let's get some context, Brandon.
All right. So let's see how Trump responded to this. So, yeah, the Colombian president comes out all tough. And then Trump says he's playing golf. He says, I was just informed that two repatriation flights from the United States with a large number of illegal criminals were not allowed to land in Colombia. This order was given by Colombia's socialist president, Gustavo Petro, who is already very unpopular amongst his people. Petro's denial of these flights has jeopardized the national security and public safety of the United States. So I've directed my administration to immediately take the following urgent and decisive retaliatory measures. An emergency 25% tariff on all goods coming into the United States. And in 1 week, the 25% tariffs will be raised to 50%. So we got that. And then there's this crazy tweet from this guy, Gustavo Petro, where he's almost like outright mocking what Trump said. So let's translate this. So he says, Trump, I really don't like traveling to the U.S. It's a bit boring, but to confess, there are some commendable things. I like going to black neighborhoods of Washington where I saw an entire fight in the U.S. Capitol between blacks and Latinos with barricades, which seemed like nonsense to me because they should join together. I confess that, like Walt Whitman and Paul Simon and Noam Chomsky and Miller, I confess that blah, blah, blah. I don't like your oil, Trump. You're going to wipe out the human species because of greed. Maybe one day over a glass whiskey, which I accept despite my gastritas. We can talk frankly about this, but it's difficult because you consider me an inferior race, and I'm not, nor is any Colombian. So if you wish to know someone who is stubborn, that's me, period. You can try to carry out a coup with your economic strength and your arrogance like they did with Allende, but I will... Allende, but I will die in my law. I resisted torture and resist you. I don't want slavers next to Colombia. We already had many as we freed ourselves. What I want is next to Colombia are lovers of freedom. If you can't accompany me, I'll go elsewhere. Colombia is the heart of the world, and if you didn't understand that, this is the land of the yellow butterflies and the beauty remedios. But also the colonels of the last Spanish words here. Aureliano Bodia, which I am one of, perhaps the last. You will kill me, but I will survive my people, which is before yours in the Americas. We are peoples of the winds, the mountains, and Caribbean Sea. You don't like our freedom. Okay, I don't shake hands with white slavers. I shake hands with the white liberation heirs of Lincoln and the black white farm boys of the USA, at whose graves I cried and prayed on the battlefield, which I reached after walking the mountains of Italian Tuscany. You get the point. This thing is like paragraphs long, and he's just talking shit about Trump, egging him on. So Cam, we'll go to you first. What is this guy thinking? Cam,
Okay. All right. Sorry. I'm still trying to figure out this camera. Anyways.
don't worry about the camera. We got you on audio.
All right. There's a lot of frustration. Kind of a couple podcasts ago, we kind of got into the history of Colombia, and me and Umberto kind of talked about South America quite a bit there. And if you guys look a couple of them earlier, we kind of went real in depth with it. So for those of you, shout out to Cat TRC. Love Colombia people. Appreciate it, brother. You know, I think, you know, long story short, currently we have a socialist, and it's not, he defines himself as a socialist. He claims it with pride. To me, he's just a communist. He might as well just say he's a communist. And this is a lot of history in Colombia. This isn't simply just one presidential race. This has been an ongoing thing for a couple of years, right? And there's a lot to unpackage here that we could just have its own podcast for 2 hours on that alone, right? But to stay up to current events, it was stupid. It was a lot of ego behind it. It was very selfish. That's the word I'm trying to think. If I sent you a YouTube video, did you see that one where Trump and Duque are sitting down? You don't need to play the whole thing. If at some point you could play that, Brandon.
Yeah, I'll grab that.
You know, Colombia worked for many years to come back from the war on drugs and, you know, from the economy being crap, from nobody wanting to go to Colombia because it was so dangerous, to building a positive relationship with the United States, fighting the war on drugs, and really becoming a flourishing nation. And it was hitting its boom, really. And, you know, Medellin for many years was the most innovative city in the world, year after year. And then our last president, Duque, Trump even, you know, at his last term, sat down, spoke with him, and, you know, complimented him for all the work he's been doing to fight on drugs. Trump at one point, couldn't find the video, but at one point, you know, he went out there and he spoke, you know, very highly about Colombia, congratulating them. And so again, there's been a great relationship between the United States and Colombia for many, many years now.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead, play it.
Do you want me to go to a certain part or play the whole thing?
You can start it from the beginning. I mean, you don't have to play the whole thing, but you can just kind of go.
It's a great honor for me to be with President Duque, who had a tremendous victory. He won by a lot. They love him in Colombia, and it's an honor to have you with us. And I just want to congratulate you. That was a very big and powerful victory. So the people are agreeing with what you stand for and what you do stand for. Very, very powerful against drugs and drug trafficking. And you've been a friend of the United States, and we look forward to working with you, Mr. President.
Thank you so much, Mr. President.
Right, so that's a good little opening context, huh?
Yeah, so that, I mean, that's, you know, there's more to it, but we don't need to get that too deep into that. But so essentially, so it was a statement. This you know, Petro has it. You know, he kind of came into Colombia, really against the establishment with communists, and, you know, wanting a lot of regulation, and promised the bottom man everything. And you know, the cancer was spread throughout the colleges. It was spread throughout.
A lot like here.
Yeah, a lot like here. You know what I mean? Where, you know, teachers, kids, these young kids ate up everything that they were told by, you know, his his party. And it's been horrible, but Congress and the Senate have been able to stop him a lot. Now with this, and even that tweet that he made, that tweet really pisses me off for many reasons. He's trying to make a statement, you know what I mean? Like, he's almost trying to be really prideful and like show like he's like, and it's, we don't know what's going to happen, right? It's still in the very early stages, but it's like you're poking the bear, right? And you're the first one to publicly do it. And it's almost like you try to be this big guy. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, he's trying to prove something.
Yeah, like I don't know if he's trying to start a Southern movement, which I'll talk a little later on of kind of the intel that I got from, calling family down south and talking to a couple of people. And the news that they're getting is a little different from us. So I'll give some insight into that. But yeah, man, I mean, just, we'll continue to unravel this. I want to kind of hear Humberto a little bit. I won't go too much down the rabbit hole. I'm just very upset. Very, very upset. I could talk about the story that we talked about earlier, how this could affect my parents and many people like my parents that have been trying to be doing the right thing. But yeah, go ahead, Humberto. You go ahead. You take it away.
No, I mean, this is a step back. I mean, what Aldo?
I think you're muted, Humberto.
What do you mean muted?
I hear.
You hear him?
Yeah.
Do you hear Humberto? Okay, it just says muted on the screen.
I'm on your audio interface.
Gotcha.
Brandon, all right. I think this is a step back. This is probably undoing 10 years of progress made by Colombia. All right. It's not just like him on a whim doing this. Just as a reminder, this guy during the 70s, he was a literal terrorist. Like, he was captured, detained under a fake name, and then let go. During the 90s, when they had the peace agreement, he made it into mainstream politics. He tried to be president 3 times. He was the mayor of, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Bogota. That it was an absolute disaster. This guy, and this allegedly, because you gotta say allegedly, but I think it's very plausible. He accepted a lot of drug money for his campaign, and he accepted a lot of Maduro money for his campaign.
Yeah.
And when you start thinking about this, there must be something bigger to it, because I was looking at the records of how many planes made it safely to Colombia last year, and it was over 124 flights of repatriation that went from the United States to Colombia.
That's very strange. So, like, was it on the something aside from military planes, or was it the exact same thing?
No, go ahead, Humberto, my bad.
I mean, most of the time they use commercial planes with ISIS agents on them. But when there's an overflow of it, they will use military planes.
Yeah. And then for a second, it looked like this was cooling down because he said he was going to, the president was going to send his own personal plane there to bring them over because he just didn't like the optics of bringing them here on a military plane. But then he comes out and says in response to Trump's tariff threat, he's like, all right, fine, then we'll put 25% tariffs in the U.S. How do you like
50.
that? 50%? You went right to that? All right. So yeah, the crazy thing about that is that the U.S. is by far Colombia's biggest trading partner. Like 28% of Colombia's exports go to the U.S. And then for the other way around, like Colombia's not even in the top 20 for U.S.'s biggest trading partner. So obviously one that's much more disproportionately hurt here than the other. So like, is he just going to like take them down the Venezuela route where he takes them into like economic chaos and, like chaos is like a ladder from, is it that type of situation?
I mean, from the geopolitics lens of this, what's going on after China, after the US became pretty weak with Biden at the helm, you had all this talk about a multipolar world, all right?
Which is BS, but yes, go on.
It is BS, but a lot of these South American socialist leaders, they always had the dream to have like a united South America and to have a multipolar world. So like that's in their best interest, and they truly believe there's a chance. And I think he was just testing the waters, see what happens with Trump, how far Trump is willing to push. And as you say, you fuck around and you find out, and he found out.
What were some of the other things so it wasn't just the tariffs, it was like all kinds of banking things and things with visas and stuff. Like he said, he was going to pull the visas from people who work for the government or potentially everybody from there.
Like, this was it was said to be, it still is. We don't have any information on Trump rolling back any of the sanctions that he announced. Most of the information, if you can pull it up, is on a press release from the, I think, under Marco Rubio. So that will be Homeland. No, that will be the Interior.
That account? Yeah. Or you mean Secretary of State?
Yeah, that'd be under the State Department that made the statement about it.
Let's see.
But you have bank sanctions. You have all visas frozen. You have
Is it all or just government officials?
all visas frozen until further notice.
Shit, that sucks.
So essentially, originally it came out that it was going to be just government officials, supporters, families, and the supporters was kind of where like, well, how are you going to determine who's a supporter and who's not a supporter? And then I think after the elevation of the 50% is now to all visas from Colombia to the United States are currently frozen.
All right, so what do we have here? So this is from statement from press secretary. The government of Colombia has agreed to all President Trump's terms, including the unrestricted acceptance of illegal aliens from Colombia returned from the United States, including U.S. military craft, without limitation or delay. Based on this agreement, the fully drafted IEEPA tariffs and sanctions will be held in reserve and not signed unless Colombia fails to honor. Oh, wow. So they turn around. The visa sanctions issued by the State Department and enhanced inspections from Customs and Border Protection will remain in effect until the first plane load of Colombian deportees is successfully returned. Today's events make clear to the world that America is respected again. President Trump will continue to fiercely protect our nation's sovereignty, and he expects all other nations of the world to fully cooperate in accepting the deportation of illegal citizens present in the United States. All right, so based on that, this was posted what 10. This was posted 26 minutes ago. It looks like so. Maybe I guess they're playing ball. Yeah, I guess they're playing ball now.
I mean, they had no choice.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was saying to you guys before, he's going to fold in less than a week because they can't survive this. This would knock their GDP down by like double digits.
26% of their exports come to the U.S.
Yeah.
So, what you're gonna do? But to give people more context about it, like this under Biden, Biden would have done anything.
Yeah. No, Biden wouldn't have even been sending them back in the first place.
That's a fair point, but that's the thing. Biden wouldn't have said anything or implied sanctions. Biden lifted sanctions from Cuba to Cuba, the biggest communist regime that it spills communism into the whole region, right?
Yeah.
Most of the guys from the FARC, I mean, not most of them, but a good section of them, they're revolutionaries, paid and trained by Fidel Castro. And this is a Pan-American movement. It's a Bolivarian republic they want to establish in the whole South America. A Pan-American communist regime.
What percent of states and or countries in South America are communist? Because like you said before, I mean, hopefully Rubio is like passionate about this issue and understands the virus of socialism in South America that came from Cuba, spread to Venezuela, and now looks like Venezuela might be trying to infect Colombia with it. I mean, who else is plagued by that right now? Because that's something that if I was the State Department, I'd be working, I'd be putting the majority of my energy into stopping the spread of socialism in South America. Maybe even do some CIA coups against the socialist governments. The CIA loves a good coup. Put a coup to good use for once.
Well, that's very symbolic that in his rant he mentioned Allende, that was the Chilean communist president of Chile that was actually helped out by the CIA and the Chilean military, who was an absolute fucking coward. He took his own life instead of fighting, and drove Chile to have a lower GDP than Haiti in less than 3 years.
Crazy.
Now I need to give credit.
Brazil at one point was also a communist country for some years.
Yeah,
and they're teetering right now a little bit with Lula.
I need to, because I can't get into details, but I've been following this very closely, and during the time he was doing the campaign more actively. I must give credit to the Colombian parliament that's been able to not to stop but to minimize all the effects from this regime. Like if Petro went unchecked, this be a whole different story. Like we would have already cut relationship with them out the gate.
Yeah, no, 100%.
I think that's also why you kind of see Trump going at him and not saying the Colombian people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's going at them. I think it's one of those hard things though, because with the CIA part of it, where like with Venezuela, the United States, I don't know, there's been plenty of efforts to try to overthrow them, and the world has tried to recognize, twice now, other parties as presidents. But at the end of the day, he still has power, and it hasn't changed, right?
Right.
How involved can they get? I mean, who knows? You know what I mean? If it's going to be feasible, or it might be one of those things where we're just about to get crumbled. But also, is it done by design? Is this finally his big break? You know what I mean? Is this finally his chance to break Colombia to the part that, he now has full control of Colombia? You know what I mean? And kind of from like what I got from intel from back there is that Colombia is kind of actually more split than we thought about this. You have, with his whole pride thing and talking about, no longer having to depend on the United States and its products and exports. And he kind of goes on that whole rant on his Twitter. It was kind of what he was also going on the same rant when he's coming, trying to be on president. He was saying, Colombia, it's time to open their market to the world. It's time, this whole big thing of like, this whole rise of Colombia into the world, you know what I mean? And, that's kind of where he was in his campaign. And now he's kind of continuing that, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I guess the Colombian supporters of Petro, which unfortunately happens to be somehow still a good majority of Colombia, are all happy. Yeah, I mean, I guess he's still got a good base of supporters, I guess. And they're all still kind of,
I have to disagree with that, Cam.
Yeah.
He won the election by, I think he got 50.4% of the votes.
Yeah, on the last. Well, Colombia was the 2 rounds of elections. It has 4 candidates the first time, and it has to be a clear majority. And then after that, it goes to the top 2, and then he got the split there. But what I'm just saying, like currently, like what it seems to say, like what my dad was telling me from the news aspect, it seemed that a lot of people were actually happy about what he said. I'm not saying that. Yeah, go ahead.
Probably the loudest voices will be happy because all the press has always been a bunch of communists. But he's sitting, according to Bloomberg, he's sitting at a 26% approval rating.
Oh, interest. That's actually that actually gives me some relief. Kind of what my dad was telling me he was hearing was that there was people that were actually happy that he was doing this.
100%.
And they were kind of saying that essentially there's people that are just want Colombia to like elevate to this status that it's never going to be. Unfortunately, I don't think so. And you know what I mean? And I've talked to my dad just about this as well. As much as Colombia wants to grow, and I think you have to know the limitations of your growth and be realistic about your size. And I think you have to also be realistic about your role in the world, right? In South America and in the Americas, right? And Colombia was going towards the right direction, leading South America, I would say, in some areas. But now it's getting crumbled, and there's this whole thing of like, I guess he went out and said, we're just going to have to make our own products of whatever we've been getting from the United States. We have to stop depending on other people. And he's kind of trying now to sound like a nationalist. You know what I mean? Like he's trying to make it sound like he's just very prideful to be Colombian. And now it's like he's kind of almost, copy and paste what Trump has been saying that he wants to do for America. You know what I'm saying? And now that's what he's kind of trying to stand on. I guess what my dad was hearing, kind of rumor mill around is that I guess Mexico and I believe Brazil are supposed to be the next ones to try to stand up against Trump.
Well, I mean, Mexico, that lady, Shannon Bound, she's been very vocal against Trump.
Yeah.
She backed off quicker, and she was, especially with the repatriation of people that get deported from the United States. Mm-hmm. But the situation is the same. Like Brazil is out of control. Mm-hmm. Mexico's out of control. Colombia's out of control. Venezuela is always been out of control. Cuba's out of control. And
Argentina is the only one who's really kind of heading in the right direction. But who do you think could be like a leader or a role model for the other countries to follow? Is it Brazil?
I think no.
I mean, like if like the right person got control of it, like who carries the most weight in South America? Would it be Brazil? Like as the biggest economy, the one that could like turn it in a different direction? Like it's always been weird to me how
Brazil's
Cuba was
big rooted in oil. I would say right now, probably the best example right now is fucking Argentina. The president he's been absolutely phenomenal. I don't know, Humberto, what do you think?
I actually met Javier Milei.
Oh wow!
I met him. I met a few times. I actually met him before he made it to Congress.
So when he was just a regular dude.
Yeah, a regular dude. No, he's always been crazy, crazy guy. But I love him. I think his policies are working. The shit show they had in Argentina was unbelievable. Argentina could be a world power.
Yeah,
like with the amount of oil, land they got, it could be a world power. But the worst thing about Argentina is Argentinians are the worst. So, but to give people some context of because they might be getting confused, especially when it comes to Petro. Like his government promised a lot and over promised, under delivered, and during his time there, he had a bunch of policies that they've been a total disaster. Like, for example, the healthcare reform in Colombia, it's been a disaster. What else? You have the labor reform that he wanted to do. All right, like 100% one-sided to the worker, nothing for the people, the entrepreneur that wants to put a business together. Like most Colombian entrepreneurs, that's why they're in America. What else do you have? I think his biggest thing is how lenient he's been with the cartels and the FARCs. He wants to sit there, give them amnesty and put them on the table. So he's undoing a lot of work that Colombia was able to go through. Like if you think about the 90s and early 2000s in Colombia, like nobody would never thought that they will go that far into guiding the country in the right direction. And what he's doing is playing against the Colombian people.
Well, yeah, just making it a place that people actually want to go to and feel safe. Because I mean, I remember like it was a whole different conversation when you used to invite me to go to Colombia like 15 years ago versus today. Like today, it's like super modernized and like looks a lot like America now. And you said like before when you would go there, like if you were just like it looked like you're from America, chicks would act like you're automatically rich. But today, like they get how it is, and like so many Americans have gone down there, that's not even that big of a deal for them anymore.
Yeah, I mean now it's I mean you got Americans buying property and buying farms and constantly going in Poblado, which is very famous part of Medellin. I mean, last time I kind of told you this before was I think it was last time I went to Colombia. I went out to a couple bars with my cousins and we're down there and I'm speaking Spanish saying excuse me, con permiso, and there's these guys. And then I'm like, no fucking way. I was like, don't tell me this. And I was like, excuse me? He's like, oh, sorry, bro. And I was like, no way. I go, no way. I was like, please don't tell me that just happened. It was crazy. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't. There was there's pride in it. You know what I mean? But it was just a shock that I was like, oh, I just had to say, excuse me in Colombia. You know what I mean? It happened multiple times, and then next thing you know, we're driving down the street, and I was like, "Oh wow!" I was like, "They're all, I see my people all over the place, and I see Americans all over the place."
Yeah,
and you know what I mean. And then before I went to the military, Envigado was totally different. You know what I mean? And I mean, we're talking 2017.
Wow, since then it got that different.
Yeah, so you're talking about 2017 to now 2025, and we just started 25. You can talk about 2024. You're talking about in 7 years, that was the difference. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And really, the last time I really went was probably 2023 to Colombia. So you're talking about a matter of like 6 years. 6 years was the difference of tourism blowing up that much more. You know what I mean? And then before that, forget about it. But yeah.
Here, I'll look up a before and after of that quick. But while I do that, there's this post here about the president allegedly being into trannies. Is that a thing? Enlighten us on that while I look this up.
Yeah, my dad said some comments I won't say, but
no, they're not comments.
What do you mean? Say it.
He was seen with a transsexual in his visit to Panama. That's facts. There's pictures of him walking
Yep,
around.
right here.
See, like this not allegedly.
Yeah, Daily Mail.
No,
said it.
I'm just saying. I like that's yeah. I mean, it's a fact. It's 100% fact. I guess there's rumors that he might be a homosexual. You know, what I mean?
Socialist and into trannies, not a good combo.
Not at all.
It's like
there's this whole kind of talk about what earlier, and I think today I think for chat to know, I think this hits home a lot more. You know what I mean? This was a little more emotions behind it for me. It's a little more. There's a lot of raw emotion for me on this, and today there has been a lot of emotion behind it. I even called Brandon not too long ago. We were talking on the phone, and I mean, I'm sure he could hear me how upset I was. And so it's he in that Twitter post he makes, he also talks about, even if you're gonna dethrone me, it's almost like he's trying to. Like, he knows he messed up, and he knows that now there's probably going to be a push for him to go out, but he's going to go out trying to blame Trump now, right? Although he knows his opportunity to make it again are probably lower than than anything. It's already going to shit. But now he's almost pasting it like, oh, if I don't, it's almost like, oh, if I don't get reelected, it's because of Donald Trump. You know what I mean? It's almost like he's setting himself up for that in 2 years.
Like he's trying to make himself a martyr.
Well,
yeah. Go ahead.
No. I mean, the chances of a coup led to the thing is that America has too much internal struggles to like focus on Colombia.
Yeah.
And this is my opinion. Then again, I need to have this disclaimer. I have nothing to do with Colombia anymore. During Petro's campaign, maybe a little bit, but not anymore. I think the best outcome of this is for him to live the rest of his presidency quiet, to back down as much as possible to not hurt the Colombian people, and then get voted out in August
of 26.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what are you doing? Like, are you in a suicide mission trying to like die on this hill? This isn't the hill to die on. Like, it's one thing if you want to like talk shit about Malay or something, a different South American country, it's like somewhat similar size to you, but like there's no winning to try to go up against the US, your number one trade partner. Like, even when the dollar so much as goes up in strength a little bit, it just decimates Colombia.
Well, Brandon, this is what's going on. And if you're a good dictator, Brandon, you will know this. All right.
Yep.
If you have a disaster,
it's kind of good for you.
If you have a disaster, he has a pension thing going on, he has a healthcare thing going on, he has a bunch of like internal issues.
Right.
What's the best way to distract the national population from whatever disaster you're doing?
Well, if you get Trump to put tariffs on you, you could say, like, when it all falls apart, you could say it was because of that, not because of his mismanagement.
Yeah. So and
I was muted, but yes, exactly, literally. I just kept saying yeah for a hot minute. Sorry.
That's a playbook. That's a playbook for every dictator that ever did it. Stalin, Maduro, Chavez, just name it. All the socialist dictators, they blame everything on America. They go like el imperialismo americano, the American imperialism. And everything's America's fault. It's because of the tariff, it's because of the dollar, it's because of imperialism. So that's what it is,
Yeah. So real quick, are you seeing the screen right now, Cam?
Yes, I am.
So is this like a good before and after of what, like how recent did it look like this in Medellin, and then one day it started looking like this?
I mean, that's downtown Medellin, right?
Right now?
Yeah.
Looks like it. Recordía por la ciudad de Medellin.
I can't really. Recorrido por la ciudad de Medellin.
Recorrido?
Not bad.
Hey, I'm getting there.
That's downtown Medellin.
And then what's this?
That there's still sections, there's still favelas, and there's still poor sections in Colombia. Don't get it wrong.
So like, what's the? I mean, I guess I'm just trying to get a visual of like what did it look like before the rapid development, like in the before 2017 time frame, and then like what does it look like now? Is it like it's looked like shacks before? Like, what do I type in for that?
No, I mean, I would say look up Medellin, Colombia, 2010. And you could just see the difference right around 2010, 14. I would even go 2008. Medellin, 2008. Yeah. I think right around 2006 to 8, they had the Metro Cables.
Metro Cables.
Click right there. So right now, if you were to kind of zoom in, Colombia started building up. You see more favelas right there. So that was a perfect picture. If you go back.
This one?
Back. What would you do with it? Okay, right there. All right, so right there, right? Yeah. So you see a lot of green in the background, right? So right now, that same picture will probably show more houses towards the top of the mountain. And then you start seeing the buildings are getting a lot bigger, and you have a lot more bigger condo-like apartments, or not condo-like, I would say New York apartments for say, high up, tall up, all over the place. And people, Medellin got so overpopulated that it just built up everywhere, though. Everywhere. There's blueprints being put out for apartments all the time. Let's see. You could even go 2005 Medellin, and then just look up 2014. It's crazy. The difference.
All right, here we go. So this is a good chart. So this is net foreign direct investment in Colombia from 2001 till 2023. So here we go. Starts jumping up a bit.
Yep. So exactly right. Remember, I said 2012. I said now go back down. 2012 peak, right? Started first big peak.
What caused that? And then why did it jump back up again suddenly when the shitty guy got in?
So 2012, I believe, is the end of what's his name? The one before Duque. Berto.
Who was the president in 2012 for Colombia?
Jesus.
The one before name. The one before Duque.
I'm looking.
2012.
Juan Manuel Santos.
Yes. Santos was before Duque.
Okay, he was good?
Yeah. He was...
anything is better than Petro. He was a little bit of a weirdo, though.
Yeah, Santos wasn't everybody's favorite cup of tea, but he ended up doing better. You know what I mean? The beloved is Uribe, right? Uribe fought the guerrilla. There's pictures with him and Obama. I mean, not Obama. Bush. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He's out there he was getting after it. You know what I mean? He really was. And then there was this weird, he almost, I think if I'm not wrong, Berto, remind me if my history is correct. He did 3 terms.
Yeah, and he was incredibly successul.
Yeah, so they had to pass for him because Colombia had originally had just a 2-term or two terms. Right? Yeah. And then he did such a good job those 2 terms. And the people were so happy that they ended up passing a 3rd one. Am I correct on that, Humberto?
Yeah, I mean, and the scale of the operation that went through, it was a joint operation with the United States and Colombia to fight the guerrillas, and they almost ended it, Yeah. And Petro, who is a guerrilla fighter, is bringing it all back. Once Petro got to be president, there was a mass migration going towards the United States, Venezuela. It's not a joke,
Interesting. All right. Well, I guess as things stand right now, the State Department's saying that this thing is all wrapped up and that's going to be all right. It doesn't sound like the same rhetoric's coming from the other side. Maybe they're trying to kind of save face and unveil that information in a different way. I mean, so last thing you heard, it's still the state of things still was uncertain on Colombia's side. Cam?
Let's repeat that again. Sorry.
So just from the State Department side, our State Department is saying that this thing's wrapped up. We're getting what we want. They're going to start sending people there on the military planes. They're going to accept them, and we're not going to put the tariffs in place as long as they stick to that. But we didn't really hear that from Colombia's side.
I mean, so on that side, that's everybody just kind of waiting to see, right? Everybody's just kind of, I kind of also like I call my mom, I talk to other people, and everybody's like, hey, let's not panic. Let's hope this is just a little political stunt he tried to pull to try to look cool and earn a couple kudos points, like this, hey, I stood up to Trump type deal. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Sorry. Even a guy in national security on Fox News came up and he kind of said, hey, listen, you know what? Maybe he's just trying to do this, and now he could kind of word it in his favor and say, I didn't like how they were coming in military planes. I didn't want them coming in like criminals, but maybe he tries to work something out with Trump saying, hey, can you just bring them to Colombia in commercial airline flights? Right. And then now he has a little victory against Trump that he could come back to Colombia and say they're no longer bringing them in, military planes. Now they're bringing them in commercial planes type deal. Right. I also want to say this and I always look at right and wrong. I don't just look at things like always in favor of one side just because it pertains to me. I think this was 100% the right thing. We kind of spoke about this earlier. I think this was the right thing that Trump did, and he had to make an example out of Petro. You know what I mean? And he had to, because if he did it, then if he even if he shows a little weakness now, then imagine what every other country is going to try to do, right? Every other country is going to be, we don't want him either, in which there's already allegedly rumors that other countries are trying to do that against Trump, right? I also want to say that, yes, we do know that the people on these planes, a lot of them are criminals and have done crimes here in the United States, right? So, yes, they deserve to get the hell out of here. I don't give a fuck how they get to Colombia. You know what I mean? Get them the hell out now. And this is kind of like that backsided, really weird, like this whole thing's really weird. Like, I guess he was trying to say that he was going to give them a big warm welcome back to Colombia. And, he brought out his plane to them and he wanted to know that Colombia was going to take care of them and welcome back to, Colombia. And this whole fucking thing he was trying to talk about that he wasn't going to allow Trump to, make fools out of them or whatever. They're fucking criminals, dog. There's crimes against them. There's crimes against a lot of those guys, right? Sure, some of them at the end of the day might have just crossed the border and maybe they just got caught up in it, but they're the majority. Well,
that was an illegal act, so it's accurate to say that they were committed a crime.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, you know what I mean? Whatever reason, it's even one of the guys, the national security guys, he goes, imagine you ran away from your country because conditions were not beneficial or whatever. Everyone leaves for a different reason, right? The grand majority want a better for their future and their families and whatnot. Yes, but everybody has their own reasons. And he goes, you go through all this trouble to go all the way up to America. You get sent back, right, after all that in a plane. And these C-17s have been modified to they're not going back to Colombia the way I was riding a C-17. The way I was riding a C-17 was gutted and a little net for a chair. Okay, that sucks. Guess what? We're military, and that's just what we signed up for, right? Now they actually, put seats in it. They actually, make it humane as much as they can on a C-17, right? And they have services where they can have food on there, and it was already said that that's what they were going to do to everybody who was getting deported on these C-17s. And so, you get on this plane and you're on this military base. You're like, well, now I'm going back to Colombia. And the next thing you're told, you're like, oh, we just got denied by your government. And then who knows where they made a pit stop or if they flew back. And then next thing you know, you get told, hey, your president's plane is coming to pick you up. You know what I mean? And it's like, what the hell? You know what I mean? It's like he's almost like just taking full advantage of a situation that shouldn't have been that big of a deal. This shouldn't have been that big of a deal. You essentially rejected Colombians coming back. And then you're going to say, oh, no, we're going to come get him. 2 minutes later, he replies with, I'm going to send my presidential planes. And he's going to be this big hero. I don't get it. You just made a relationship salty. In hot waters, you know what I mean? With America.
And he's speaking the liberal language too. He's calling him like a racist and like a white supremacist and saying that he looks at him as like an inferior guy.
Yeah.
And, I don't know what's necessary with all that.
I don't know.
Guys, hit that like button, by the way. All right, so we'll see how this thing plays out. It seems like one side's saying something, the other side's staying a little bit quiet right now. Before we jump off, just wanted to show you guys this quick thing and get your reaction because it broke last night. We talked about it a little bit, but I thought it was crazy. So you know how there's 300,000 kids that were missing that were migrant children?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So
they found
85,000 of them were found last night.
Yeah.
Let me play this clip
It's
quick.
the
for anybody who hasn't
weirdest
seen
thing
it.
ever. It is the weirdest thing ever. I know. Yeah.
Borders are for Trump has told me about, and all of this will focus on those missing children, hundreds of thousands of them that we know. And that number has started to already come down, Emily, from 300,000. So they found about 75 to 80,000 of those kids already. If they can get the list of these guys, 4 full days in office for Trump, if they can get the list of where some of those kids have been, and they've been identifying it, you know, since the election, going after them and trying to find those little ones, what in the world was Biden's administration doing? What was Secretary of Homeland Mayorkas doing when he said to the committees on Capitol Hill, we don't know where those kids are, I'll look into it? No, dude, you obviously had a better way to find them, and you didn't do your job. I can't believe they impeached him and didn't remove him. Now, the second wave that Tom Homan, the borders are for Trump, has told me about, and all of this.
Bizarre, right? Like, what's up with that? Were they like, was Mayorkas and all them like literally facilitating this?
Tell me how you are a demonic pedo without telling me you're a demonic pedo.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, people don't understand what 80,000 children is. That is 2 Madison Square Gardens.
Yeah. Or a football stadium.
That's a football stadium of children.
And they just knew exactly where they were. Like people who weren't even in government didn't even have access to the classified stuff or the security clearances or anything, like the actual resources that you would need to really have the resources to find these things. They knew where they were, obviously, because they were ready to just jump on it from the time they got in there. So I refuse to believe that people who were outside of government knew how to find these people, and then people who were inside of government lacked the resources to do it. Because how many times may we say that we don't know where they are, we have no way to track them?
Yep.
So I mean, were they just straight up facilitating this? I
don't know. I mean, it's like if you look at everything that has been going on, right, and just this couple, what is it? We're about to be at a week of Trump being in office.
Yeah.
Right. We're about to reach a week.
Tomorrow will be at a week.
Yeah. So in 1 week, what he's accomplished has done more already than. I mean, some will say Biden, Obama, you know what I mean? And maybe even Bush might people some throw in there, right? But he's already doing more in this week than any president, right, that we've seen so far and during our lifetime. And if he's done all this in just a week, what the hell couldn't the administration do in 4 years? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why are you telling me? You're going to tell me it took, 4 years to get this information, and then they're just going to hand it over to Trump and be like, yo, here it is. We found them finally. Like it's this. No, this is like he got in there and said, let's figure this shit out quick. You know what I mean?
And here there's another point, and I think Brandon made a super valid question of did someone know about this? And I think that's a question that the American public deserves to be answered.
Well,
right?
check this out. So this is what Mayorkas said when he was asked about this.
ICE was also unable to account for more than 32,000 unaccompanied kids who failed to appear in court from 2019 to 2023, according to the report we read. The incoming border czar, Tom Homan, says these children are being exploited and trafficked. Is that true?
Well, we certainly, Margaret, we certainly have received reports of children being trafficked, even those as to whom we know where they are. That is outside the responsibility of the Department of Homeland Security.
No, because ICE is under the Department of Homeland Security, and that's on them.
What we do is we turn children over within 72 hours, as the law requires, to the Department of Health and Human Services, and then HHS places those children. Of course, we investigate cases of trafficking, but there are children who are reunited with a parent here in the United States or a legal guardian, and they move. And sometimes the government loses track. Individuals cannot comply with the reporting
Whoops,
obligations
lost them.
or otherwise. I think it is inaccurate to say that all of them are trafficked or victimized. There are a number of reasons why we might lose track of an individual. That is not necessarily specific to this administration. That has been a long-standing challenge in the immigration system.
Yeah, I mean,
it's totally okay. Like, it's just like, this happens. It's an everyday thing.
You misplace one every once in a while, like you'll put a migrant child over here, you look away and they disappear, and what can you do about it? It's been happening for years. But like, what a weird problem to have such a lack of urgency around. Like, there's always such like a overwhelming evidence of these like missing kids, and nobody ever talks about it. And like the fact that like the only non-swamp creature administration comes in and finds them this easily, like I want to know where they're finding them. Like, what, who are the people that were like harvesting them connected to, and like who was benefiting from ignoring this problem?
Oh, we need a full report on this. We need a full report.
Yeah, it's some sick twisted shit sounds like what's going on.
You know what's the best thing about this?
What?
Guess who didn't get a pardon?
Mayorkas didn't?
Mayorkas didn't get a pardon.
Are you sure?
I think he didn't get a pardon.
Oh, we have to look that up quick. I thought he did. Did Mayorkas gets a pardon? Did Alejandro Mayorkas get a pardon? Yeah, I guess he didn't, right?
So if I was in the Trump administration, I'd be preparing that file.
Yeah, 100%. Oof. He's like one of the biggest demons out of all of them. Like, you could just see from the look in his eye. He looks like a sick person. I'm looking that up in Grok quick. No, Mayorkas did not get. Come on, Grok. No, Alejandro Mayorkas did not receive a pardon from President Biden.
All right, interesting.
Nice.
Right? Interesting.
Nice.
Interesting.
All right. So we
now,
have that to look forward to.
Now, what makes me really mad, all right, that they started, talking big game about Dodge and this and that. I think this
slacking a little bit.
I think no, but I think this is top priority. Like, let's define the children department.
Department of Finding Children.
Yeah, we never had a department to stop the sick people and these traffickers. Never.
Very bizarre.
We have the ATF for guns. We have a bunch of departments for everything under the sun, and there's not a single department to protect children.
That's a good point. That's crazy. What's the ORR? I saw Holly grilling somebody that's from the ORR. You know what that stands for?
The majority of programs that are actually looking out for fight against child trafficking are usually nonprofit organizations or Christian groups.
Yeah.
That's mainly the people fighting child trafficking, which is actually quite sad that you wouldn't think a government would be against that or don't want to fight against that.
Yeah. Office of Refugee Resettlement. So I guess that's because Holly was grilling them like a fat lady from there at one point, and saying like, she was like, yeah, we gave them a presentation on Know Your Rights. And he's like, it's like, yeah, so does that help them when they're being indentured servants or whether they're being trafficked against their will? Is there Know Your Rights pamphlet help them when they're being human trafficked? Some crazy shit. I'm sure a lot more will come out about this because, I mean, like less than 1 week, we found almost a third of all the missing kids. Crazy. So I'm sure they'll find the majority of them at this point. So unless you guys have anything else, I think it's a good time to jump off, and we'll come locked and lit with a lot more tomorrow.
Yeah, I won't be able to get on tomorrow. But
yeah, we'll see you next time that you are. But I will be here with whoever else is able to join me. So Cam, thanks for jumping on. We're thoughts and prayers with you that everything works out in the best. I think it will. I think that Trump knows how to negotiate.
Lord willing, or help us get him out of Colombia.
Yeah.
This is my closing that topic. My best guess. This guy, Petro, he's a drunk allegedly. There's a bunch of videos of him drinking a lot and slurring
banging
his words.
trannies.
So I think he had a little bit. He had a little bit too much to drink. He got that rave drunk energy. But I don't think this is gonna escalate. Worst case scenario, this is gonna slow down visas and all processes until August when he gets out, and I'm pretty confident that we're gonna get a Trump positive president, because that's a trend in South America and the world right now.
Boom.
Lord willing.
All right. Well, guys, it's been real. We'll see. I'll see you tomorrow night.
Hit that
much
outro.
love. What's up?
Hit that outro.
Yes. All right. Much love. Goodbye. Goodbye. You know, we talk about the deep state. We talk about the globalists.
Inflation versus deflation. Well, I mean,
Here at Mar-a-Lago. I'm baffled that this isn't front page news.
Do you guys support a specific political party, or do you dislike both of them?
Oh, it worked like a charm on you guys.
Let's go, Brandon.